U.S. system conversions. You may have also come across the name imperial or U.S. customary. These are all names that are equivalent to U.S. system conversions. And the basic units of measurements within this system are units such as inches, feet, and yards, or miles within a distance system, or fluid ounces, pints, quarts, gallons for capacity. And we'll also take a look at ounces, pounds, tons, and so on for units within the weights. In order to convert within the U.S. system, you need something called a conversion factor. That's a relationship that exists between two forms of units. The one conversion factor that we know is that 12 inches is equal to a foot. We're going to use this information to create what's called a unit factor. In other words, 12 inches over a foot is equal to a foot over 12 inches, which is equal to a value of 1. In other words, I can now multiply by either this fraction or this fraction, and I won't change the actual value of that quantity, but I will be able to create a new unit for it. So let's look at what this means. Example 1. How many inches are there in 3.75 feet? So I begin with 3.75 feet, and I was saying that I want to now multiply. I want to multiply by the appropriate unit factor. If I want to get rid of feet, I'm going to multiply by some fraction that's going to allow me to cancel out that feet unit. And this first unit factor, 12 inches over a foot, allows me to now cancel out my feet units, and I'm left with my inches up top. Now in my calculator, what I'm going to be doing is multiplying 3.75 times 12 inches. I don't need to really worry about dividing by 1 because anything divided by 1 is just going to be that number itself. 3.75 times 12 gives me an answer of 45, and that's in inches. Now, when you're rounding within the imperial system or this U.S. system, we always want to make sure our significant digits are matching to the original measured value. So this was 3 significant figures. So my answer should have 3 significant figures as well. So 45 is only 2 significant figures. So I'm going to add 45.0 inches as my final answer. That way I have 3 significant figures. Example 2, 44 ounces. Times, similarly, I need to set up this unit factor so that the unit that I want to cancel out appears on the bottom of the fraction. So the 16 ounces will go at the denominator and the 1 pound up top. Cancel out my ounces unit, but take a look at what you're doing in your calculator now. It's like you're doing 44 times 1 pound and then divided by 16 in your calculator, or directly 44 divided by 16. So that's 2.75 pounds. Now we also said earlier that you have to round to the right number of significant digits, so that's 2 significant figures. 2.75 is 3, so we look at the second significant figure, that's 7. Does the 5 bump the 2? It certainly does, so 2.8 pounds is the final answer. Example 3. Sometimes we're required to use unit factors more than one time. So our question is 12 gallons as our starting point, but it's asking us how many pints is equivalent to 12 gallons. Notice the unit factors. There's no direct conversion from 12 gallons to pints. So it's kind of like solving a bit of a puzzle. I need to make a movement from gallons to what? Well, look at this information given. Gallons to quarts. Got to get rid of that gallons first, and that's equivalent to 4 quarts. Okay, so my gallons units have now canceled out, and I'm at quarts. Now, looking at the second unit factor, quarts to pint. So I'm going to create another unit factor within my system. And I have to get rid of quarts because it's up top here. So I'm going to put my quarts at the bottom, and I'm left with pints up top, which is what I wanted. Notice what you're going to be doing in your calculator. 12 gallons times 4 quarts times 2 pints. I've got ones in the bottom, so I don't really need to worry about dividing by any numbers. So we're left with a final answer of 96 pints. It's got the same number of significant digits as 12 gallons, and we are done.